Hi, a commenter the other day was very generous by leaving a comment and had a question about the metaphor I used in a video about eating my liver and whether that referred to excessive alcohol consumption. Well, when I used the term eating my liver, I was referring to the visceral sense of suffering. You know, the way we it feels like we emotionally gutting ourselves because of shame or whatever kind of suffering. There's all sorts of flavors of suffering, but I do want to talk about, I meant it in that way. However, I do have a history of excessive alcohol consumption and basically drug use. I definitely have an addictive personality, and I started when I was 12. I started smoking pot. I smoked pot before I drank. And basically, I was a druggie throughout my adolescence and teen years. And I kind of stopped using drugs when I was 18 it was parental intervention. But when I turned 21, I started, when I had money. I'm kind of a lifelong underachiever here. So, and a failure to launch for most of my adult life. When I had money and I was 21, I started drinking. And I would basically, that we had these mailers every week. We'd get these ads in the mail for grocery stores and drug stores, and I would scan. I would go through them and look in the alcohol section, and I was looking for cheap beer because I like the taste of beer. I learned to like the taste of beer, and I would go and buy as many cases, 12 packs, as I could afford. And it didn't matter what kind of beer it was, as long as it was cheap. Because I drank for the buzz. I drank to get high. I drank to avoid feeling myself, because I couldn't handle just being alive. I needed to be anesthetized. And I would go, it's funny because I would be self-conscious about where I'd buy it. Because there was a 7-Eleven that I used to buy 40s from, and I on the regular I'd buy 40s, and one time there were different clerks there at different times, and one time both clerks were there and they both saw me and they go, "Oh yeah, you're drinking, yeah, good times," and blah blah blah. They made a big deal about it. I'm like, I just want to be invisible. I just want my alcohol. Shut the fuck up. You know, I was ashamed really of needing it, you know. I felt weakened by it, but I still felt like I needed it. I'm going to have to turn on the heater, sorry. And so I would go to different drugstores. I would make sure I'd go to, like, if it was like Long's Drugs or there was I forget all the different drugstores, but Long's was one of them. They're gone now. But I would go to these different drugstores and they'd have good deals. But I'd always go to different ones because I didn't want them to get used to seeing me and think, "Oh, here comes the lush." I wanted them to think, "Oh, here comes somebody picking up a bunch of alcohol for a weekend party. Hey, they're going to have a good time. They're going to be all social and stuff." I wasn't social. I was all by myself, drinking alone. I would, in fact, I was living with my parents, and they were Christian Zionists, so they didn't want any alcohol around. So I had a cooler, and I would freeze a bunch of old margarine containers filled with water, and I put them in the back of the freezer. And so when no one was around, I would empty the margarine containers with the ice and fill it up with a little bag, and then fill it up with water again for the next day. I had all these different margarine containers, so I'd be making ice, and then when the coast was clear, I'd go empty the melted water that was in my cooler into the bathroom sink, and then reload the beers, and then grab the ice, put it on. So I'd always make sure I had beer at night. I would usually only drink at night, but I would drink depending on how much I could afford. The optimal at the time was probably about 8 beers a night. And I remember a time when I wasn't living with them. I was living in Anaheim at the time. I was renting a room, and I came to my grandma, asked her for help because I had this terrible IBS problem, and I really wanted to see if I could get some help for it, and she paid. I didn't have insurance. This is America. So she paid for me to go to a doctor, and I went to this gastroenterologist, and I remember him checking my liver, and he said there was problems with my liver. I'm going, ooh, okay, because I think at the time I was drinking 6 beers a day based on my funds, you know. And so because I got the bad news, I was drinking a 6-pack a day. Bad news with my liver, so I immediately cut it back to 3 beers. I didn't stop. And he said the liver test came back okay. And so I was like off and on, mostly on, drinking a little bit here and there, or smoking pot. When I was 30, I started smoking pot again, and I always preferred pot over alcohol. And basically, I only recently, only the last 5 years, I came to the realization of what it was actually going on was the fact that I just couldn't stand my life. I couldn't stand just being in my own skin, and I had to either drink myself or smoke myself into oblivion, or watch TV excessively. My head would be in the gamma quadrant, you know, or the delta quadrant, or something like that. Not here in California, not here in whatever year it was. I couldn't handle the boredom of my life, my underachieving life. I didn't have any challenges. I was afraid of challenges. I felt like I already knew I was going to fail, so why bother? So and boredom was so terrible. And I'm going to make another video about this sometime, but boredom isn't boredom. People say, oh, bored, oh, it's just boring. Oh, it's just boredom. Oh, it's bored. Boredom isn't boring. Boredom is actually, it's a apt name because it feels like something's boring into your psyche. It's all my shit, all my baggage, all that stuff I never dealt with, all the stuff I suppressed and repressed, coming back up to the surface without a story attached, unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever. And it wants to be healed. And you know what? I never get that kind of boredom. Oh, I often get into especially in the morning, I watch a lot of YouTube, and I'm a little addicted to screens and stuff. But if there's on this walk, I'm not gonna listen to anything. I may listen to this. but I'll just be alone with my thoughts, and that's okay, because I've dealt with so much of this crap. And through the years, what would happen is you grieve it, you feel it, you grieve it, you clear it, freedom. And then next day it comes up again, or the day after that, or whatever. It seems like it comes back. And what? I thought I got rid of it. I thought I got rid of all this crap. Now it's back, but it's peeling the onion, clearing the field for new stuff, constantly new stuff coming up, old stuff. But every time you clear it, you clear a little bit more. And then I would get discouraged, and I'd say, oh, fuck it, I'm not going to do this. And I try to stop the spiritual search and healing trauma and all that. I just want to have my comfort mechanisms. But thankfully for me, the die was cast, and I was on the growth train no matter what. And it didn't seem to require me, which is crazy. Anyway, I'm kind of going off. All right. Thanks for watching, and thanks for that comment. It's so generous that you took the time and labor to actually write something. Thank you so much.